Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cruisin' Route 66 show across the world on podcast. I'm Craig Parrish, along with my producer Lance Reinerson, and the show is sponsored by the National Route 66 Motor Tour. Tonight, we're going to be going out west to Texas, to Amarillo, Texas. Amarillo is a neat town on Route 66, old western town, and Amarillo is world famous for the Big Texan Steakhouse. And for those of you that don't know about the Big Texan Steakhouse, it's a really neat place on Route 66, and they're the place that has dinner challenge, as they call it. It's a 72-ounce steak with baked potato, salad, roll, and dessert. Can you imagine eating a 72-ounce steak, Lance?
I don't think so, Craig.
And the challenge is, if you can eat it in an hour, it's free. If you can't eat it all in an hour, it's $65.
You'd really want to eat it then.
And there's people that come from all over the world to try to eat that big bad steak. But it's a really neat place to see, and it's a must place to see in Amarillo, called the Big Texan Steakhouse. If you're ever in Amarillo cruising on Route 66, we highly recommend you stop by and see it. At this time, we're going to play a little song, and we'll be back in a few minutes with our special guest from Amarillo, Mr. Eric Miller, who's the Tourism Director and Communications Director for the City of Amarillo.
Hey, you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looks mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this timely tip when you make that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66.
We're back. At this time, I'd like to introduce our special guest of the evening, Mr. Eric Miller, who is the Communications Director for the City of Amarillo. Like I said, Amarillo is a really neat town. It's a must-see town when you're traveling Route 66 across America. Eric, good evening. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, Craig. How are you doing?
We are doing just wonderful. Thanks so much for being on the show. We sure appreciate it an awful lot. Thank you for signing up and being a part of the National Route 66 Motor Tour this year, Eric. We really look forward to coming out there in October and seeing you guys and having some fun at the Big T Steakhouse, just having some fun in Amarillo for the night. So I really thank you for joining up with the thing.
It's our pleasure, Craig.
Well, Eric, tell us a little bit about Amarillo. What's going on? Some history with Route 66, points of interest, things to see, what kind of events you got coming up, any projects you've got going on. Tell us about Route 66 in Amarillo. The microphone's yours.
That's a mouthful, Craig. We love Route 66 in Amarillo. You know, we're almost at the midpoint between Chicago and Santa Monica, about 173 miles of Route 66 across the panhandle of Texas. When you get to Route 66 in our neck of the woods, you really start to feel like you're getting into the West. It's just got that feeling to it, that layout to the land, the wide open spaces. And then there's Amarillo, this kind of oasis in the middle of the panhandle. So that's kind of a rough geographic feel to our area. And you know how folks on Route 66 thought of it when they approached it, you know, back as early as the 20s and the 30s. You know, we have about a mile of Route 66 today, Craig, that we really focus on. It's on 6th Avenue in the city of Amarillo. It's between Georgia and Western Streets. And that's the focus of activity for someone visiting Amarillo and looking to kind of discover Route 66 in Amarillo. We have restaurants, we have clubs, we have stores, we have galleries, all up and down this stretch, and they're all in basically restored buildings. Things like old gas stations and, you know, old community churches and old houses, and they've been kind of repurposed into what's now the new restored Route 66 here in our city. Man, I mean, what's going on is just about everything. We just had our first annual Texas Route 66 Festival back in June. It was a big success. We're already planning for next year's, also in June of 2016. It featured basically two things: a classic car show and a hamburger cook-off. So we called it Grills and Grills. Grills for the classic cars and grills for the hamburger cook-off. We had a great time this year. Oh, it was wonderful. We had a great time, great weather, good crowd. We invited our friends from both ends of Texas Route 66, from Shamrock on the east out to Adrian on the west. We invited them to come in and be part of it because we wanted it to be a Texas festival. We had music for much of the afternoon, and everybody had a great time. I mean, the weather was incredible. We've been having this rainy year here as well, but for that weekend, the sun shone. It was in the 80s, and I mean, you couldn't help but smile here on Route 66. And then we followed it up. We welcomed the Great Race to town. It was a national classic car rally. They were going across the country. They had started outside of St. Louis, and they were following Route 66 out to the coast. And we had a great time welcoming them to our stretch of Route 66 as well. You know, we're hoping to do an antique festival come this fall. We always do some sort of Christmas shopping special along Route 66 down in, November or early December. And, who knows what we're going to do next year. We're just getting started on next year right now.
Just a question for you, Eric.
Sure.
The famous the famous TV star, the Star Trek guy, William Shatner, he just did his deal across Route 66. Did he stop in Amarillo?
He stopped in Amarillo. He ate some barbecue, and we had to help fix his bus. They had an accident, but we did that overnight, and we got him on his way the next day. So Bill was here. I don't think anybody pulled a Captain Kirk joke on him. I think he had a great time visiting Amarillo.
I saw pictures of the vehicle he was driving. That was quite a unique deal, wasn't it?
It was. Unfortunately, they were having some mechanical issues with it. So when he came into Amarillo, he was actually riding on a backup vehicle, and he wasn't using that slick rivet motorcycle. But it was still here, and they rolled it out for everybody to look at. It got a lot of oohs and ahs. Yeah.
It's really something, Eric. When I talk to you and I talk to the other tourism directors and work on this National Route 66 motor tour and stuff like that, you talk about the great race going through Route 66 in Amarillo. You talk about William Shatner. Now, all the roads in the United States that guy could go and towns would welcome him and everything, he takes Route 66. The national motor tour that I do, it's Route 66. There's just something magical about Route 66. It kind of reminds me of Elvis Presley. 10, 15, 20 years from now, people will be able to say the word Elvis, and you won't even have to say his last name, and people will know who you're talking about. The same thing goes true, I believe, with Route 66. 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, you say the word Route 66 to somebody, and they're going to know that's probably the most famous road in the country, and maybe even in the world, because people come from all over the world and travel that road probably more than any other road in the whole United States. The tourism dollars that it brings, and just the interest of Route 66 it's a phenomenon in my book, and I'm sure it is in yours too.
Yeah, we just had a group of Aussies come through Amarillo. They stopped at Bob Lyle's Art Gallery on Route 66. There were about 40 or 50 of them.
Yep, Bob's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Man, they were incredible, and we sang for him and had a great time at his gallery. And, that's the norm. These groups from, especially overseas, they really get it. They really understand the magic of Route 66 even more than our domestic friends do.
And that's the neat thing about you being on Route 66. There's a lot of places in the world these people could go, Eric. Any place in the world that they want to, but here they come, and they're on Route 66, aren't they?
Yeah, and the folks that we have been told will be coming in greater and greater numbers now are Asians. The Asian market is just starting to wake up and open their eyes to the idea of riding or driving a classic car or a Harley and enjoying the feel of the open road on Route 66. So more and more we're going to be having those foreign visitors coming to all our cities up and down the Mother Road.
Oh, sure. Do you have an idea, Eric, ballpark every year, what percentage of your tourism business is foreigners from overseas?
Percentage-wise, it's a pretty small number, but it's growing. And I would guess it's probably gone from as small as maybe 5%, but now it's certainly up into the 15 to 20% area. So that's a great increase in just the past few years. And the other thing about internationals, and you know it, Craig, their spending is per person is very generous wherever they go throughout the United States. So international visitors are highly coveted.
And it's such an economic impact for all you towns out there. Good heavens, could you imagine what kind of budgets you all would have and everything if you didn't have these tourists coming from all over the world stopping in all your towns, and they're buying hotels, they're buying gas, they're shopping, they're eating, they're buying souvenirs. I mean, you're right. I mean, the money that they spend in each of these towns has got to make a big difference in your budgets and tax base and everything like that.
It helps, but I'd like to think of it more as, when they come to a town, regardless if you're a domestic or an international, what's the experience you're going to get? In Amarillo, you're going to get the combination of the magic of Route 66 with the feel of the real Texas. And I think that's what sets us apart with respect to all our friends up and down the route. So it's more about the experience.
Sure.
And I certainly hope our visitors feel that.
Sure. I can't tell you how many times I've traveled Route 66 myself over my life. I still see something every time I get on the road and go to California. I still see something that's like, how did I miss that before? All the times I've been out here and stuff. You're right. It's absolutely the experience. Before I put you on the show, we were talking about the big Texan Steakhouse, where that's just a must place to go try eat that 72-ounce steak. I call Amarillo and a lot of the towns, it's Americana at its finest, Eric. I mean, it's just Americana. Fortunately for you guys are even in the song, too, the official Route 66 song, so that kind of works a little bit to your benefit.
Oh, it's great to be in the song Route 66. It gives us so much visibility.
Yeah, Bobby Troop was thinking of you that day, wasn't he?
He was. And we think of Bobby Troop a lot, too, because of that. So
sure,
it goes both ways.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And, Bobby wrote that great song. I mean, you think of music in Amarillo, and our live music center is all the clubs up and down historic Route 66. We have, at last count, we have 12 different venues that feature live music at some time during the month on our stretch of Route 66. So it's a great place to hear music.
Yeah, I was looking here recently, and I think I saw where Route 66 has been recorded by like 88 or 89 different artists. That's a lot of artists to record one song. There's been bands out there over the years and artists over the years that took a song from in the past and made it a big hit and everything, but I don't know of another song where 89 artists have recorded it in their own way, in their own version. You know, Chuck Berry's done it. The Rolling Stones have done it. Depeche Mode's done it. You know, Nat King Cole, naturally. Bing Crosby did it. You know, just a lot of people. Perry Como did it. You know, just over the years. It's just one of the most famous songs out there. Yeah, it's incredible.
And it keeps driving interest, and that's what really matters most of all.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Eric, it's been really nice talking to you, and again, I thank you an awful lot for being on the show, and I thank you again for being a part of the national tour. We'll be out there in October to see you. We wish you the best for the rest of the summer. Keep getting your kicks out there, Eric. Again, thanks for all you're doing out there on Route 66. And we'll see you in October, and thanks again for being on the show.
My pleasure. I can't wait for October, Craig.
Okay, Eric, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. That's Eric Miller from Amarillo, Texas, the Communications and Tourism Director for the city of Amarillo. Great town. A lot of neat things going on in Amarillo. You know, and William Shatner being there a couple weeks ago doing his thing on Route 66. It's Texas. Everything's big out there. Always. When you're driving Route 66, always stop into Amarillo and say hello and spend the day and have some fun there. We, again, want to thank Mr. Eric Miller from the city of Amarillo, the Communications and Tourism Director, for talking to us about what's going on in Amarillo these days. Things coming up. Don't forget, we're going to be in Amarillo in October for the National Route 66 Motor Tour. Dates are October 4th to the 18th, 2015. And we're going to be doing 15 cities in 14 days from Joliet, Illinois, all the way to Santa Monica, California. And you can catch the event on www.route66motortour.com for all the information if you'd like to come and join us. Again, I'd like to thank my producer, Lance Reinerson, and Rhythm Management, Reinerson Web Design. And I'm your host, Craig Parrish. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we'll see you next Saturday night as we cruise Route 66 across America. Good night, everyone.
If you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to L.A. More than 2,000 miles all the way. Hey, get your kicks on Route 66. Hey, you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looks mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this timely tip when you make that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66.